Hello and a very warm welcome to the brand new edition of To The Point. I'm Priti Mishra. And on today's show, joining me through virtual platform from Kerala is CEO of TechGencia Software Technologies, Mr. Joy Sebastian. Mr. Sebastian, welcome to Atsaba Television and thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much. Thank you for inviting me to the show. Thank you.
And for all our viewers, let me tell them that TechGencia Software Technologies is a Kerala-based global IT service provider and the Grand Innovation Challenge winner, and it will launch its innovative product, WeConsole, very soon. But Mr. Sebastian, winning the marathon and highly competitive Grand Challenge under the Digital India Initiative must have been a Herculean task. Take us through your journey.
First of all, I would like to thank you, Government of India and Ministry of Electronics and Communication, for giving us this kind of an opportunity. First of all, thank you for that. My journey, I started my company in 2009 and we were into research and development of video conferencing and internet communication collaboration for the last 10 years. TechGencia were able to capture the attention of some of the technology companies who are working in video conferencing because of the footprints we made during these years on the internet research area. So some of them came to us and they were using our services on the research and development for running their video conferencing service show in other countries like US and some other countries in Europe. So we were having some good client base already who is running video conferencing over our technology. So this came as a tailor-made competition for us, I would say, because when I look at it, it came on a perfect time when COVID-19 started spreading. Government of India announced a challenge for a Make in India video conferencing, and we were placed in the what they call the spot, like among the 1983 companies who participated and proposed the solution. They took our proposal from that among the 12 companies who given the proposal, and we were able to develop a very good prototype with the help of the government's grant of 5 lakhs, and that prototype got selected to the final product stage, and we got 20 lakh rupees as the grant from the sponsorship from the Government of India. Then using that, we were able to develop a beautiful product on our technology, and it became the winner of Video Conferencing Challenge. It is an amazing 4 months for us.
Absolutely, I completely agree with that. And Mr. Sebastian, globally, Indians are amongst the top users of apps in the world. India accounted for more than 5 billion downloads out of the 33.6 billion app downloads in the Q1 of 2020. Now, what is the aim or the initial target that you're aiming to secure?
Yeah, we are looking at the enterprise market first, like the Government of India did. What Government of India did, like on-premises installation for the enterprises and maybe corporates. That is the first aim to go for the market. Then we will announce, because the going to public market is a very large infrastructure investment required from our side. That anyway we couldn't afford at this point of time. So we will be slowly moving into the public market after getting some attention from the enterprise market, and we are placing our product as a premium grade video conferencing solution. So it may be like everyone will get a taste of the solution, but it may be paid after some time once we launch for the public.
So paid after some time. Talking about the revenue model, how much would the consumer pay? How will you remain competitive? How have you worked out that model?
I think now we are in the startup. We are just starting to taste the video conferencing apps after the COVID. I think everyone were not tasting. They may be familiar with video chat, but multi-party video conferencing applications they may not be using earlier. Now everyone started using multi-party video conferencing applications like Zoom and Teams and all. But I would say it is in the primary stage right now. The video conferencing industry is in the primary stage, and people are getting the primitive kind of video conferencing applications where we are not feeling the good quality video conferencing yet. So what we would suggest is we are going to give a very good quality video conferencing solution that people will taste, and then people will pay for it because of the quality it offers. So I'm sure there will be people who want to use the premium quality one. So we are not just giving a 280p video. We will be giving, we are planning to give HD video for all with a small bandwidth users. So that is what we aiming at. So it is, it seems to be take some time because of the infrastructure investment we need to provide to launch it to the public.
Okay, so there's a long list, Google Duo, there's Zoom, long list of apps and platforms that we use to communicate. What will be the USP of TechGensia? Why should people go for it?
Yeah, TechGensia's product vConsole is on a different technology, all of it. I would say what I can compare it with is the high quality video conferencing offered by Polycom and Cisco earlier. That is being used in the boardrooms and by the ministers and all to do their conferencing earlier. And that is not at, accessible to the public because of the price they are offering it. So now we are coming with they are using it, they are giving it using hardware solutions. And we were able to replace the hardware solution with a pure software we indigenously developed inside. That is our USP. So what I would say is people are going to taste good video conferencing using the software side, on the software side, rather than you heard about the H323 SIP devices from Polycom and Cisco that were providing high quality video conferencing earlier to the boardrooms, I would say. Then now we were able to provide the same quality on a software based solution. That is what we are aiming at, and we are replicating the hardware solutions that is provided by Polycom and Cisco exclusively on software, and it is infinitely scalable. They were limited by the scalability because of the hardware usage. Now we purely developed it on software, and if technologically speaking, it will be a disruption because nobody else have it right now. Okay. And I would say Zoom's enterprise pack coming on a $50 price have the same technology, not the small one. Not the primary plans they have the technology or using the technology. They were using this technology what we developed in their premium package. Like it will come on a $50 tag, price tag.
So that sounds economically extremely competitive. But Mr. Sebastian, what are the plans for global expansion?
Already we have, after the winner got announced, we are getting a lot of inquiries from different countries to set up this kind of what India did. I think India is the first country to do something like this, to have a indigenously developed solution to be used inside their offices. Everyone is approaching other companies to get it done, or global companies to get satisfy their requirements on the video conferencing demands. But now India made it as their own. So we are getting similar kind of inquiries to deploy this kind of solution in their countries too. I think we are going to explore that market first to get a good revenue out of that stream first. So this is going to be big for us.
All right, so before we talk about the broader picture and the macro parts of it, just trying to understand what is the kind of future the video conferencing space will have in India particularly, and globally, of course, in the post-COVID era.
It is going to be, especially in India, the differential bandwidth. You know, remote villages may not have the bandwidth to afford a multi-party video conferencing yet. But by providing this kind of a solution, my solution have a difference, like it uses the same bandwidth when it comes to one-to-one conference or 1-50 conference. Because we are stitching all the videos together on the server and sending a single video out to the participants. So our technology is entirely different. So even a small bandwidth which can afford a one-to-one conference can afford a 50 participant conference too. That means if from remote villages itself, people can join a multi-party conference and even multi-party education system. And we are planning to span across the remote villages of India to give all the benefit of high quality education, high quality healthcare, high quality services to the people of the India wherever they live, even in the remote villages. That's our plan.
All right, so talking about the bigger picture now, we talk about the software development space as well and also about app development. Now, government has said that it is committed to develop India's software product and mobile app economy in a big way. How do you see the future of India's software development and, of course, apps as a part of it?
Earlier, India was relying on the services. On the software side, most of the Indian companies and giants in the Indian giants in the software industry were focusing on services that is directly giving revenue to them. Now people are talking about products, and India government is very aggressively supporting them by announcing this kind of challenges, by announcing startup programs. A lot of support is being given by the government of India and all the state governments. So it is going to be big for India. I would like to say India is like a country where US is 50 years before. Because of that situation in US, 50 years, that situation in US, I think those youth dream about their ideas, and they made big companies like Microsoft, Google, and Facebook. India is now in a situation like that, and I hope in a decade of time, India is coming out to be the birthplace of big giants like Google, Facebook, and Microsoft. So product companies are going to rule the world from India. Definitely, I'm definitely about it.
And how is the startup ecosystem evolving? Do you think the government has done enough or it needs to do more? What are the challenges and what are the demands?
Startup ecosystem right now is very promising because as I told you earlier, myself, consider my situation. I was a youth who need a job after the professional course. Now, after 20 years, I would see at least some of them, 1% of the youth can chase their dream without going for a job. That means a lot of startups are going to come out right now. At least they will try for 2-3 years to chasing their ideas. That means we are going to get at least 10% of those startups will become promising industries next year. So that is going to be very big for India, and at least I am not saying they don't need to go for a $1 trillion company, but if they can provide at least 10 employment, then India will be one of the best economy in the world.
And what are the other demands from the government as a startup entity?
I would say this challenge was very good. This kind of challenges should happen for different apps. We can say, even though if it is a particular domain, they can just give any domain. I would say the new challenge announced by the MIT, that is very promising in the sense, I would say what it was using semiconductor chips. They announced a new challenge, and that is to encourage 100. It is not one company. They are going to encourage 100 participants by giving them grants and all. That means a lot. That kind of support will enable the ecosystem and grow the ecosystem very well. That's my opinion.
And also talking about the specific sectors, now amid a new post-COVID or pre-COVID or during COVID world order that we're living in, which has made health and learning increasingly e-centric. Now, what are the other avenues that would be opened up?
I would say post-COVID normal will be opening a lot of opportunities, new opportunities, because we need new devices, we need new products, we need new services to live in this post-COVID era. That means the old services, old products, or pre-COVID services, pre-COVID products, pre-COVID devices may not help to survive in the post-COVID era. That means there is a new set of world order is happening. That means a lot of new opportunities. We need to find it out. We need to nurture it. We need to produce products. That's my opinion. So that will be India's, I think one of the best thing India can do is now encourage youth to do something that will enable them to move forward. And post-COVID devices and products, India can produce most of them because of the intellect, because of the resource. Everything is here. So just give them support. They will definitely do wonders.
And also the fact that Prime Minister has given a clarion call for Atmanirbhar Bharat. Now, how do we ensure that there's robust, scalable, secure, and useful apps that are being developed for various needs of the people? And also, more importantly, that it reaches to them.
I personally thank you, our Prime Minister Sri Narendra Modi ji, because I hope, I don't know whether it is true or not, one of the first product coming out of Atmanirbhar Bharat is WeConsole. So I am very thankful to the Prime Minister, and this will encourage people definitely. This is in the right direction, and if we nurture it, as I told you, this is going to do wonders for India and do wonders for the world. And our economy and our remote villages are going to be the best benefited areas in this Atmanirbhar Bharat, I think. Because my example is the best one to point out, because I am coming from a remote coastal village in Kerala.
Absolutely, and that has been a phenomenal journey. But talking about Atmanirbhar Bharat only, and in the tech space, what are the other avenues where India can become self-reliant?
I would like to say I am using some of the hardware components from China earlier. And when I look at I went there and I saw how they are doing it. Also the hardware components. It is like what we call homemade devices, most of them. So that kind of small industries can grow, like cameras. One of the most important area we can focus is every cameras are coming from China right now. Every camera. Cameras have a tremendous use. I am just giving an example. So the technology is very, very silly actually. It is only a chip with a plastic cover on it and a lens. So it can be easily made. What we don't have is, we don't have the expertise, or we don't have the entrepreneurs who have to do this, have the knowledge about it, how it is making, and that kind of small knowledges will make, it is not a very, I don't say it requires a post-graduation in computer applications to do such a kind of hardware. It's very silly. So that kind of devices can come out. It should come out from India itself. So then we are going to rule the world, definitely. So that kind of industry you need to support. We need to nurture. We need to give them training. We need to set up some factories like 3D printing factories and all, so that when someone have a design, they can make products out of it and sell it out. That is one thing. So it is going to be big, I think.
I can see a lot of exuberance, a lot of hope, the way you're talking, and we do hope that India establishes its hegemony in almost all the sectors. But before we wind up this conversation, I've been talking to a lot of experts during COVID times, of course, and we've been discussing about the post-COVID scenario, the new normal that we're talking about. According to you, Mr. Sebastian, the new normal that we're looking at, the post-COVID world that you're looking at, how would it be?
Post-COVID will be more into digital, I think. I would say when we call digital, we need to think about the most important infrastructure required for the digital world. That is internet. Availability of internet to even the remote villages of India. That is going to happen. I think Prime Minister announced it last week. I think to 6 lakhs villages are going to get fiber optic network. If we are going to spread this in a high speed, I am not against highways, I am not against bridges, but internet is also more important than that kind of infrastructures in the post-COVID era. So we need to focus on that. I think India is focusing, and India is targeting that in some time. In 2 or 3 years, India is going to get a very good internet, and internet itself will open up a very huge knowledge in front of the kids, very huge opportunities in front of the kids, and they will grow their own. That is the first thing to do, I think.
Absolutely. I completely second you on that one. But Mr. Sebastian, you joined us through this virtual platform, shared all those details with us, shared your journey with us. All the very best, and we hope that you make our country proud.
Yeah, thank you. I will try my level best to do, and I will try my level best to nurture the youth I have around, and make them something like we are doing right now. So I think as much as I can, I will do for the country. Thank you very much.
All the best, and thank you so much for joining us.